Hello and welcome back to another episode of Iceberg video. If you do not know what an iceberg video is, an iceberg is basically a form of ranking. Now, the way this ranking works is that at the top you have the most normal and the most mainstream and the most common out of these disturbing cases, and then at the bottom you have, well, the most disturbing cases. That's how it basically works. And today we're talking about the disturbing YouTube family iceberg. Now, this iceberg will cover major scandals of the different YouTube families, and it will deep dive different topics aligning with these families. Now, I'll have to say this at the start. A lot of these families do share a lot of the same problems, so I won't deep dive every single one of them. Because as you'll see, a lot of the families share a lot of the same problems. And I don't want this video to be 2 hours long of just me saying the exact same thing for every single family on YouTube. Therefore, I'm gonna bunch a bunch of them together at the start, and then later on we'll actually deep dive the very interesting ones. I hope you enjoyed this video and thank you so much for watching. The Labrant family is one of the most famous families on YouTube, founded by Cole and Savannah Labrant. Their content usually is a family-oriented content, which features relatable and wholesome content to dramatize daily vlogs, pregnancy vlogs, and their brand is lightly intertwined with their Christian faith. Christianity is a big part of this family, and therefore a lot of their messaging and a lot of the, content they do is usually around Christianity, which is in itself not a problem. You know, you go girl. Cole and Savannah is one of the top 2% on YouTube, which means that they're one of the biggest channels on the platform. Their collaborative storytelling and their messaging and their relatability has grown them a big mass of followers, which also share the same views. Now, when you're this big of a channel and 90% of your content is driven around your family and your children, that's gonna lead to a bunch of problems, which is what I'm gonna deep dive now. Nearly every single aspect of their children's life is met with exposure. There is not a single day where the children are not filmed. That doesn't matter if they're sick, if they're not sick, if they're at school, if they're not at school. Every single day they are getting filmed. And that also could be doctor's appointments with the children where they film them on the way there and their experience going to the doctor. Now, this type of overexposure has been met with a lot of criticism. As a child, it's not very obvious what is normal and what isn't normal, and that has led to a lot of debate on whether this is good for the children's mental health or not. There's also been child exploitation allegations, where some critics say that some of the pranks are going way beyond the line and cross emotional boundaries. Where infamously there is the giving the dog away prank, which visibly shows the emotional distressed young daughter at the time. There's also a lot of clickbait, which is very normal for these channels, and that's a thing that goes through with literally every single one of these channels, is that it's highly clickbaitable. And a lot of the stuff is just lying or over exaggeration of what is actually happening. And these practices are seen as emotionally manipulative, as some of their fans really follow along with their life, and they will click on a video assuming that something really bad happened just to realize that, oh yeah, hey, we lied. Which goes into my next point with this family, that they also do illness and wildfire claims. They have made multiple videos where they have indirectly claimed that they were either a part of a certain wildfire or that somebody might be having some very, very serious disease to get even more clicks on their videos. And when they then click on the video and they watch the video, they realize that, hey, yeah, sorry, we were just lying. Well, that's not what they say, but it's usually something where it's like close to the truth. Let's say that they are in a wildfire. Let's say the LA wildfire they're a part of, right? Because they live in LA. This is also not like, I'm not saying this is like the truth, but this is how it works. This video title is called We Survived the Wildfires in LA. And then it's because that they had been to LA a couple days before, and then they left, and then the wildfires happened in LA, and then they make a very dramatic video about how they survived the LA wildfires, even though that they weren't actually there. A lot of this is very direct to the Labrant family, because every single time they get scrutinized for something, they use their faith as a justification to why this is actually okay. For example, they made a pro-life documentary which use emotional and manipulative imagery and was heavily criticized for using medical, inaccurate, and polarizing perspectives. There's also been a lot of problems with their demographic, as Everly, the family's daughter, has gotten a massive amount of adult men as her main fans, which is raising a lot of questions about parental control and what they're actually posting online, which could do this. A lot of these go in line with a lot of the other ones. The royalty family is a family that is not royal, but they claim to be with, and you can definitely see it with the way that they actually portray themselves, with extremely lavish lifestyle. Now, the family consists of 4 members, well, technically 5, as one of them is the stepson of a previous partner of Andrea. These people also follow a lot of the same patterns as the Labrant family, but they do have a little bit different things that are controversial about them. They mainly do vlogs, community engagement, luxury lifestyle showcase, and multicultural representation as their main form of content, as their Colombian and Middle Eastern roots connect with a global audience. Their content is targeted towards kids, teens, tweens, and families predominantly. Now, with the controversial stuff, they fit a lot of the other stuff as with the Labrant family, but they do a little bit different stuff. The main controversy around their family is about materialism and child spoiling, as it's been frequently criticized for promoting an extremely materialistic lifestyle, including extravagant challenges as no-budget shopping spree challenges, luxury car giveaways, which a lot of people see as unhealthy and unrealistic and unhealthy for younger viewers. There's a lot of debate whether their emotional content is actually real or not, as they continue to somehow always have something very emotionally charged. For example, dramatic challenges and very personal stories are real or not, where a lot of viewers question how much of this drama is actually real. There's also a lot of discussion about Andrea's background, and a lot of the stuff when we talk about the allegation of faked manipulated storylines consist of, for example, faked break-ins, family backstory elements, disputes with Ferran's biological dad, which have been framed for viral attention. There's also a lot of legal disputes with Andrea and Ferran's dad, which are also heavily criticized as most likely not real, though these details are typically also not shown. The B family is also follows a lot of the older stuff, but these are also a little bit different. The B family consists of Papa B, Mama B, Mr. B, and Gabriela B. So it's mom, dad, and then a son and a daughter. Their content is usually comedy skits, family vlogs documenting their everyday and their normal lifestyle with a positive and lighthearted attitude towards it, challenges and playful videos which are engaging their children, and music and acting projects, which is in itself not that bad, actually pretty nice. Must be nice. What makes these people different is because of their online harassment. In January 2022, the family posted a video addressing the streamer called Click, who had made inappropriate and sexual comments about their youngest daughter, who is 15 years old. This sparked a public conversation about online protection of minors and the family influencer space. But other than that, there isn't that much more to them, other than people over-sexualizing their children because they're so much on the internet that people are insane, not that much more. The Nuts family is an Australian family consisting of the parents Justin and Norris and their 6 children. They mainly do family vlogs, comedy sketches, lifestyle videos, and daily life to life with all the siblings. They also have multiple different other channels that I won't go into, but that's mainly about music, gaming, cooking, what have you. Again, I'm putting it in with the rest of them because 90% of them is about child safety. But this family has another thing, which is about dating. Now, there was a lot of stuff and a lot of controversy happening around their daughter, Sabra, as Sabra was made to be a public figure at a very young age. Now, Sabra, at the age of 14, started dating, which is very normal. And they made a video about Sabra's first date. Now, this sparks a lot of debate in the community around what should be shown and what shouldn't be shown, as this is a very pivotal and intimate moment growing up, going on their first date. And this has made a lot of controversy around boundaries and what should be shown and what shouldn't be shown. Other than that, they also have a ton of sponsors where the channel favors sponsorships over a lot of other stuff, for example, safety and child labor laws and what have you. The Ohana family, which is an original Hawaiian family led by the Bennett family and their 6 children, which I'm gonna read up their names because I can remember them all, because there's a lot of these channels that have a lot of children. So the channel consists of Rachel and Jace Bennett, which is the mom and dad, and their 6 children. And their names are Claylia, Rykel, Shay, Wyatt, Evelyn, also called Evie, and Cora. They originally began their YouTube journey in Hawaii, but has later on moved to Utah. And they predominantly film their small, spontaneous adventures, going into the wilds, etc., what have you. You know, challenges, games, vlogs, parodies, skits, as every other of these people do. You know, I'm sorry, like, I can't take it seriously. I'm sorry, I can't take it seriously. It's literally just like, what does the YouTuber do? I don't know, film themselves? Okay, sure, right? All of them do the same. Now, this family, other than the rest of the stuff, like child exploitation and child boundaries and stuff like that, this has the extra added element of parental oversight. While many of their videos are involving pranks, a lot of them also involve the people disciplining their children on camera, which leads to extremely emotional videos where the parents are disciplining their children live in front of millions of people. That's weird. I don't really have that much more to say. That's just plain old weird. Disciplining on the children also crosses a weird line between, first of all, what should be shown and what shouldn't be shown, right? But also that it's disciplining children, which is then afterwards being used for entertainment for people, right? It's millions of people watching a mom yell at her child, which is weird. Like, I don't feel I have to explain it. That's weird. We're all, I swear, I promise, we're almost gone to the actual important stuff. The Fish Fam, also well-known American family, which also do, you guessed it, family vlogs, which is, I'm gonna read it again because I can't remember all these people's names, which is Kyler and Madison Fisher and their 5 children, twin daughters Tatum and Oakley, daughter Halston, and the sons Oliver and Cohen, which launched in 2016, and they have been making videos ever since. This one I'm gonna go a little bit more in depth with because there's also been made a documentary around them, so I'm gonna go a little bit more in depth because there's actually more we get to see. There's a lot of child privacy and consent regulations and problems arising, as is seen in the recent ABC News Studios docuseries Born to be Viral, The Real Lives of Kid Influencers, where the Fish Fam reflected on the paradox about being born on camera and growing up online. You know, a lot of us people, we have a lot of tendency to grow up online, but there's a difference from me watching YouTube videos from I was 6 and playing World of Warcraft to me watching YouTube videos while being 6 and playing World of Warcraft getting filmed 24/7. There's a bit of a difference. And especially Tatum and Oakley grew up alongside cameras, and the family has considered if they should even continue with vlogging as the children get older and they have a better consciousness to actually be able to consent if they want to be on camera or not. They also have financial disclosure and ethical questions, where the Fish Fam has spoken openly about their earnings and how much money they actually make, being able to send all the children to college, and the level of monetization that they're doing on their children to actually be able to afford them all having a good lifestyle. But it's raising a lot of ethical questions about that it's predominantly the children. Like, if they didn't have the children, they wouldn't be able to make the content, right? You need a child to make a family content, right? Nobody wants to see just me and my wife hanging out, you know, like there's a lot of ethical questions around that subject. And further than that, the Fish Fam has also collaborated a lot with Team 10. If you don't know what Team 10 is, that was Jake Paul's and Logan's Paul team, where they did a lot of content together. Now, Team 10 in itself is an entirely different video that I could make because all the stuff they did was insane, as, for example, a dad kissing his own daughter while she was blindfolded, but that's another story for another day. But because of their controversy and the Fish Fam working with these people surrounded by controversy, is like a walking controversy, they have also caught some heat, even though that the family has remained family focused. Whoa, ad break. Now the ad is me, because right now it's only me doing all these videos, which is fine, and I love doing these videos. But if you would like to help, then you can subscribe if you enjoy this content, because it truly does help out a lot. So if you enjoy this video and enjoy this content and would like to see more of this content, then I urge you to subscribe, because it truly does help out a lot. Thank you so much, and without further ado, let's go right back to the video. The Ace family consists of Austin, McBroom, and Catherine Pace, whose vlogs showcased luxury and family vlogs, obviously. But the main core of this controversy and this the reason why they're even on this iceberg is because of their financial situation. 90% of their videos consist of them having this lavish family lifestyle that they show off to everyone. Now, this is a big problem when you actually can't afford this lavish lifestyle. Because financial scandals. I love economy. 90% of this stuff is just about financial fraud. Well, not fraud, allegedly. Let's start with the first financial scandal, because there's plenty of them. The family's multi-million-dollar home in LA, featured as a staple of their content, went into a foreclosure in 2021 due to unpaid mortgage and unpaid loans and unpaid construction, shattering the illusion of this perfectly good, amazing family with extreme amounts of money. They were also, because of this, embroidered in a web of lawsuits. Austin faced multiple lawsuits after the Social Gloves boxing event, where pay-per-view participants claimed that they weren't paid, while Catherine were also sued by business partners over her skincare brand 1212 Gateway, leading to widespread refunds over disputes and further accusations of a potential scam. They also did a lot of luxury car giveaways and house giveaways, etc., where the people who won it never actually got it. Now, you might think that this is already a lot to take in, having a beautiful, perfect family with all this money going through extreme amounts of lawsuits over not actually having money. But don't worry, there's even more. There's also cheating allegations in this perfect family, and personal drama and legal rights. Austin was hit with a public wave of cheating allegations through private DMs online and fan speculation, ultimately leading the couple to break up in 2024. Furthermore, with all this already happening, Austin also faced negative backlash for inappropriate conduct, including a video where he took his niece to a store and bought her inappropriate candy. Well, an inappropriate lollipop, to be very specific. And even more separate videos with his daughter, where his behavior towards his own daughter set alarm in a lot of people. There's even more serious allegations and serious misconducts featuring sexual assault allegations against Austin. Obviously, it's Austin we're talking about. Even though that has later been not pulled back, but a lot of it has been to pile onto it, like cancel culture, right? Somebody says something and then somehow 90 other people also experience the exact same thing. Take it as it is. There's also a notorious incident inside of the family which was leaked, where they accidentally uploaded raw footage of the family doing something together, where Austin is berating Catherine and cursing at her in front of the kids. This also contradicted the family even more about being this perfect, beautiful, extremely wealthy family, as he's literally on camera, which also caused emotional trauma and manipulation in the family. And at the very end of the Ace family, because of the business collapse and the cheating allegations, which are, I'm not going to say anything allegedly, but most likely true, revealed their separation in 2024. So that is their downfall. The Bucket List Family. The Bucket List Family is a globally known family that makes travel content. Like, they travel a lot and do small adventures and big adventures even. Made by Garrett G., who is an entrepreneur and an ex-tech CEO, and Jessica G., alongside their 3 children, Dorothy, Manila, and Callahan. Their main focus of their channel is travel content, family-focused content, brand partnerships for some reason, and philanthropy. I always love it when philanthropy is a big part of what they do, because I have very strong opinions about philanthropy, but I'm not gonna go into it too heavily on this one. But their philanthropy is summed into charities, including their annual 12 days of Bucket List Christmas, where they surprise families with trips and gifts. Now, the first one of the scandals is child safety and risky activities. A lot of viewers and a lot of people have given them a lot of backlash for the way that they put their children into risky situations. Now you might ask yourself, what could these risky situations be, and are they age appropriate, which they are in fact not. For example, they take their children scuba diving at a very, very young age, which is very dangerous. And not even just scuba diving, but also shark caging, cliff jumping, ice baths for very, very young children, which are not only exploitative, but is also not safe for children. I mean, being in a cage while sharks is around you for a young child is probably not safe for children. It's not even safe for humans at all. They also crowded an immense amount of backlash around their 12 days of gifting, where both fans and legal experts have claimed that this is 100% not legal, And there's also a lot of deception around it, as it's not really clear how you even become a part of this. If you ever watched that Mr. Beast video, showcase video with like the raffle links and how, you know, you donate money to get a shirt and then it's signed and then it's not even signed by the right person, even though that it says that it's Mr. Beast, and then there's a big chance of you winning. It's basically the same thing as that. Like, hey, buy a raffle so you can be a part of this, but you actually don't know how many people or how many raffles there are, which is like super illegal, like 90% of the places in the world, because you need to know how big the raffle is. That's legality. And also, even though that Garrett G has made a lot of money by, well, tens of millions by selling an app to Snapchat before even starting this journey, they still continue to heavily monetize all of their content through paid sponsorships, advertisement, and what have you. They've also done even more controversial money schemes where they have started to siphon money out of their fans for a animation that they wanted to do where it isn't really clear what they did, but what I can gather from resources as it goes down and everything has been erased from the internet, but what I could gather is that they basically did a crowdfunding event for a animation for the family, and that animation never happened, which is funny because they're already very financially secure. And again, with philanthropy, it's also very obvious that is this actually real philanthropy or is it just because it makes them more money? Kind of like Mr. Beast. Quick rundown of how that works if you're unsure. If you can make a video and in one video you say, hey, I'm gonna give away $300,000, and then you give away $300,000 and that video gives you $10 million. Or you can say, I'm gonna give away $50 and that video makes you $2 million. It's not really like real philanthropy because you're not actually like giving away money. You're just making an investment to make more money. Short breakdown of economics of that. Furthermore, G has also been accused of insufficiently disclosing paid promotion, advertising without actually knowing that they're being advertised to, which is super illegal. And they also didn't disclose whether their travel gifts or what they had were gifted to them, or if it was part of a promotion, or if they actually paid for it themselves, which is also illegal. Sam and Nia Radar are a Christian family vlogging family. Well, duo from Texas. Their main content is obviously family vlogs, viral moments, faith and marriage ministry, and adventure content. In 2015, it was found out that Sam was revealed to have an Ashley Madison profile. If you don't know what Ashley Madison is, it is literally a website. It was a website made for purely the only fact of cheating on your partner. It was like a dating website, but only for cheaters, for extra-material affairs, as it's called. He initially claimed online that the account was inactive and there was no infidelity, but later admitted in a Netflix documentary that there is, in fact, infidelity happening on the infidelity website. And there was also later shown to be a pattern of emotionally cheating and physical cheating and inappropriate behavior, including Nia's friends. The couple experienced a major fallout and separation, and they have later rekindled their love. In 2015, they also did a pregnancy surprise video that went viral soon after they announced their unfortunate miscarriage. Many YouTubers and fellow friends of the family channel questioned the authenticity and the timing of this event, suspecting that the timing and the video in itself was purely made for viral intent and that none of it was true to start with. Amid the scandals, Sam and Nia took a 33-day hiatus from each other, and additionally they were also asked to leave the vlogging convention after Sam started a verbal altercation with other YouTubers who criticized how the couple handled the miscarriage and Ashley Madison's fallout online. So basically, to give a quick rundown, he gets caught for basically cheating on her, and then, oh, we are pregnant, and oh my god, we had a miscarriage, oh no. Kind of like they do a lot with newspapers and media to like hide how a lot of other bad stuff is happening in the world. So they say, hey, okay, this guy is most likely cheating. That's not good for money and not good for us as our brand. So we're actually pregnant. And oh my God, no, we had a miscarriage. That's so bad. Please forget what happened 3 weeks earlier. That didn't happen, right? Like, just be sad for us. That's the main view. Oh, sorry, I just had to get a quick fade real quick and put my camera the right setting so it actually looks good. And also 6 days later, and I'm definitely not cutting this in. It's very natural. Thank you. Family Fizz, no relation to TheRealFizzberg. No relation at all. Very unfortunate. I've never heard anyone else called Fizz, so that's actually extremely unfortunate. But whatever, doesn't matter. Family Fizz consists of Father Fizz, Mommy Fizz, Mia Fizz, which is their eldest daughter, Sienna Fizz, also called Little Sis, and Karma and Koa Fizz. Originally, the channel started as a veganism and fitness channel, but it slowly grew more and more closer to family vlogging, as we see today. If we go into the reasoning why they're on this iceberg, it's because of their intense focus on their eldest daughter, which has sparked a lot of debate inside of the communities. For example, Mia went on her very first date, and every single step of that date was filmed and made into content. Now, Mia is only 14 years old, which by itself is actually a pretty good age to start dating and try to experiment in life and try new stuff. A lot of people argue that that shouldn't be a part of the internet and content. And as teenagers are, it's a very intimate moment and something that can give a lot of growth, which is getting ruined by the family's constant filming of them. There's also a lot of very deep dives of the family's problems, which, for example, could be their bathroom routine, going in great depths, explaining how that is and what they do. And there's also a lot of discussion about their puberty that the children are going through, which, again, I was a teenager once, even though I might not look like it. I was once a teenager, and I know that I definitely didn't want to talk with anyone about it. They also have a complete disregard to formal education, meaning that the children do not get any type of formal education. And when I say the children, I mean Mia especially, where the only thing that she actually attends is the UK's mandatory exams. And their reasoning why she isn't getting formal education is because of her influencer career, which in itself, fair. Like, it's probably more money than she'll get having a normal job. But on the other hand, it's also like extremely short-sighted, which has sparked a lot of criticism. The family has also moved around a lot to create more content, where they have moved cities, but they've also moved countries multiple times, which means that the children won't actually ever be able to settle down a proper place and get actual friends, which limits their social behavior and their social skills. There's also been this extreme health content that they've made with an increased focus on biohacking, restrictive diets, and unusual wellness practices, sometimes also involving the children. And it seems a lot of the times that the family gets kind of forgotten a little bit while they're doing these wellness or this training regimes that they follow from time to time as a form of focusing 100% on the trend than actually taking care of their children. Now, I'm not saying this is just critics argue, so please, me personally, I don't know them. They also have a heavy push on crush storylines with the children, especially for the older girls, where they have crushes on boys and they go heavily in depth with how that is and who they might have a crush on, which is extremely invasive. They've also been extremely dismissive for strangers, where some of the girls have multiple times had fans and people follow them home, where the parents have not stepped in a single time. The Ballinger family is an American family made by Chris and Jessica Ballinger, and the couple has 6 children: Bailey, Jacob, Parker, Duncan, Luke, and Teddy. And Chris is the brother of Colleen Ballinger, also better known as Miranda Sings. And if you know anything about Miranda Sings, we will get to it. You never guess what these people also do. Yes, correct. They also do family vlogging, and they actually also do homeschooling, which is a great mix. They also do a travel series and collaborations with other content creators, including Colleen Ballinger. Now, other than all the other stuff like overexposure and privacy concerns and everything, let's go into the meat of the story. The biggest problem with the Ballinger family is their close ties to Colleen Ballinger. If you don't know anything about Colleen Ballinger, I will quickly go through it because it's not that important to the actual iceberg, because Colleen Ballinger isn't a family. But long story short, Colleen Ballinger was found to send very inappropriate messages to underage fans and underage people. She would send them a lot of very inappropriate messages with, you could say, sexual messages to underage fans. And the way she responded to getting the heat of that was to do a ukulele cover. Now, the biggest problem with that is Colleen Ballinger is the sister of the father. So at 0 points have they drawn distance to Colleen Ballinger at any point. And that is basically why they're on this iceberg, because you have this person who has been shown to behave in not very good ways with underage people. And then, oh no, I have an entire family of, you never guessed it, only underage people. And that's where the whole discourse comes from. There hasn't been anything about Colleen Ballinger doing anything, but it is drawing concerns. And Jessica, the mother, has also apparently been in group chats with underage fans also. So there you have it. It's Judy's Life is also an American family vlog where you never guess what they make. The daily family vlogs and parenting and lifestyle content, charity and community work, and collaborations. The family consists of Judy, of course, it's called It's Judy's Life, and their husband Benji, and their 5 daughters named Juliana, Mia, Kira, Leah, and Isabella. Now, the reason they're on this iceberg is because of Benji. Well, the reason why the family is on this tier list, kind of a little bit like the Ballinger family, is not technically because of the family, but because of their close ties to someone else. And this someone else would be Benji's brother, Julian Travis. I'm just going to call him Julian from now on. Julian, he was convicted of abuse of minors. Notice how I say plural. It's minors. And that is also including his own, Julian's own children, and other children within the family. His criminal acts led to, luckily, prison time and condemnation. Now, the family obviously was met with a lot of criticism about this, that, hey man, you literally have a brother who is abusing children. And the family responded with financially helping Julian. That was the response. They just kept on helping him and making sure that he got out of prison and everything. And what they also did is that they at 0 point took any type of drawback or pushback to Julian, and he is still a big part of their videos with said children. And they've even written the court asking for a lighter sentence of Julian. What they later have done is that they've been editing out content featuring Julian in their vlogs, but that doesn't really change anything. And the victims has then later on been undermined a lot because of the people who are so big fans of these people saying that, hey man, it actually wasn't that bad that my brother did extremely heinous crimes against children. It's actually not that big of a deal. And then the people who are like diehard fans, they would go after the victims. So that would be Julian's ex-wife and other people that fell victim to his actions. Now, here at the end, I just want to explain it, because just saying abuse of children is one thing, but what it actually is, it makes it so much worse. So Julian, he was convicted of multiple different things. The first being of sexual assault, child financial abuse, and controlling behavior, primarily against his ex-wife Amy and their cousin Valerie. This abuse also led to not only Amy and Valerie, but also multiple different other women. The Ingham family is a famous British family vlogging family, which are known for filming their daily life, and it consists of Chris and Sarah Ingham. Now, the controversy around the Ingham family is predominantly because of Chris. Now, Chris has had a long history of inappropriate messaging and power abuse of minors. Multiple teenage and young women have publicly accused Chris Ingham of sending them sexually suggestive messages. These incidents began surfacing in 2018 and quickly become widely discussed. The nature of the accusations are as following. Several girls as young as 16 provided screenshots and testimonies of Chris, at that point married with children. These messages would usually happen at different conventions, events, theme parks, or hotels. Messages including Chris texting them in the middle of the night, asking them to sneak out of the hotel room at night to meet up with him, and him asking for nude photographies. In one case, he asked a 16-year-old girl at Walt Disney Florida to meet for a late-night walk and skinny dip with him. And he told her that she was mega pretty and that he could make her feel better and make her into a star and make her feel better about her personal struggles, and suggested that they spend some time when she was home alone, despite knowing her age. Another accuser, age 19, also got these messages from Chris, asking for nudes and sexual favors, and he would use the leverage that he has a big YouTube channel, and he said, and I cite, "I have the powers and the people to help you turn yourself into a massive role model to thousands on Instagram and maybe even YouTube too." There was a very clear pattern here in the way that he operated with these allegations and the systematic behavior that he showed. He would leverage his influencer status to these young women, promising career opportunities or special attention and would target vulnerable, starstruck young fans. Screenshots and testimonies indicate that this happened multiple times, and it also matches initial stages of grooming. Now, beyond this, it was also claimed that he had a mistress or a 21-year-old fan that he was having a sexual relationship while he was still married with children. Now, the way he reacted to all of this becoming widely known was that he made a long-form video just denying it and said everything was without any type of proof and it actually didn't hold base in anything. He called all of the evidence without any foundation. He refused to talk about real evidence and screenshots or specifics from fans that he could not talk his way out of, and interpreted as evasive. His legal team then started throwing around defamation lawsuits that he actually never ended up sending. And as a last sort response, he just started blocking all the haters. And the family is still continuing to make videos to this day. So that's that. The Shaytards were originally named as the original family YouTubers or family vloggers in existence, and they had gained a crazy amount of followers and subscribers. Their content were, you never guessed it, family vlogging. The reason why they're on this list is because of infidelity. The Shaytards is led by Carl Butler and his wife Colette, also called Mummy Tart, which is a very poor name. But the reason they're on here is because of Carl's infidelity. In February 2017, just as the family had planned to make a public hiatus from YouTube, allegations emerged that Carl had sent explicit messages and videos to an adult webcam model called Nia. Screenshot reportedly showed that Carl was engaging with this adult performer and included months-long messages sent between them and sexual messages also. At this point, Shay had already been married for numerous years and had children for long periods of time. Once the videos and messages became public, Carl took full responsibility and said that he had made a big mistake, but were honest about the entire ordeal, which I can respect that. Honest to God, I can respect when a man fucks up and then he says, I fucked up. Not that it makes it any better, but it's much better than some of the other people who are just like, nah, didn't happen. When it's like, hey, yeah, that obviously happened. And they're like, no, I don't know. Shay had also struggled with alcoholism for multiple years and claimed that that was one of the reasons why he found Aria, and therefore their relationship began because he was having a lot of personal struggles and he found comfort in her. Myka and James Stauffer is a married couple from Ohio where they would film their daily activities. The Stauffers originally did parenting content and has moved on to an assortment of content. And they also had another child actually, and that's where it gets interesting, and that is the rehoming scandal. The channel gained a lot of fame from their adopted son, Huxley. Huxley was adopted from China and brought to America. Huxley, he was different than the other kids because Huxley had severe autism. And a lot of the videos they made in this period was about how they struggled with his autism diagnosis and how they tried to help him with rehoming him inside of the new life in America and try to give him a good life. Stauffer posted nearly 30 monetized videos with Huxley and their adaptation and their story with Huxley. And they became very open about how it is to have an autistic child. In 2020, after months of subscribers questioning where Huxley has gone because he hadn't been on the videos lately, for a longer period of time, they said that they had rehomed Huxley, where they said that despite of loving him and being his family, they simply found it too difficult and they did not see that they could give him the life that he deserved. And they claimed that the reason why they had rehomed him, which is a word you use for dogs and not for people and not for children, was because that after further investigation into his autism diagnosis, there was actually a lot of other different problems that they couldn't say which were, but there definitely were other problems that made it difficult for them to give Huxley the life that he deserved. So to boil this down, what they did is that these people have a daughter, and then they adopted a young Chinese boy with an autism diagnosis. After having him for roughly half a year to a year, somewhere between there, making a ton of videos, monetizing him, gaining a ton of subscribers, and getting a lot of money from having this autistic child in their presence. Then after a year, now it's apparently too difficult to actually have an autistic child, and then they rehome him, meaning that they either one, send him back to the orphanage, or two, they try to find another family that wants to take care of him. Or they send him to like some hospital or something like that. Because none of this is known. He just disappears. Gone. That's it. Spiritual Tasha Mama is also a family vlogger and a family YouTuber, which advocates for natural parenting and extended breastfeeding. She gained thousands and thousands of subscribers and millions of views. The channel's focus was advocacy for breastfeeding, including in public and extended to older children also, natural parenting, veganism, and spirituality. Her unique brand was that she was promoting freedom from shame regarding the female body, sexuality, and parenting decisions. And for sometimes, even though not as well received, talking about sexual relations and sexual health in relationships. The main problem comes from breastfeeding. Now, breastfeeding in itself is not a problem, but she somehow made it a problem. The scandal started by Tasha Mail when she shared a video where she discussed in frank detail her experience of being intimate with another partner while actively breastfeeding her child. She described being intimate with her now ex-husband while their baby was latched onto her bosom, saying, and I quote, "We did it while he was next to me or sitting next to me or on me. There's nothing bad about making love. Not ever." This confessions that she also later on repeated in interviews and explained in follow-up conversations was met with an intense amount of backlash. The critics accuse her of crossing critical parental boundaries, committing incest, and sexualizing an act involving her child. The clarification Tasha gave was that her child was not actually involved in the sexual parts of it or was not even aware of the sexual activity, explaining that the nipple was acting like a pacifier for the child, therefore it didn't know what was happening around it, and that the situation happened and she was breastfeeding the child out of necessity and not for sexual pleasure. Now, multiple people have claimed of Tasha her children and modeling predatory behavior, and there was multiple cases where they urged Child Protective Services to come out and check it out. Now, in itself, breastfeeding is not a problem or a bad thing at all, ever. But she acknowledged the problem with the breastfeeding while having sex with a partner. But a thing that really destroys this whole thing is that after this, Tasha has made a lot of adult content where she has produced explicit content about lactation and pumping content for fetish clients. If you don't know what pumping is, that is breastfeeding, but without the child and into a glass. And she's done that for paid clients online. While she is asserting that any type of adult content she makes is not a part of the content she makes with her children and does not involve any of her children in any way, shape, or form, she argues that lactation is very distinct from breastfeeding and therefore it cannot be compared. And her children are never present during her adult video creation time. But the big problem with that is, on one hand, if you say, hey, there's not a problem with breastfeeding and me breastfeeding my child while also your main fetish is breastfeeding and lactation, there is some sort of huge cross where they both meet. You can't say, oh, well, breastfeeding and lactation is actually quite sexy and I enjoy it very much, especially as a sexual activity. Oh, also, I'm breastfeeding my child while having that has nothing to do with the sexual activity, though. That has nothing to do with it. I'm just also breastfeeding him out of necessity. So the sexual activity is actually not a part of it. That's just an extra thing that was happening. That's where the big problem stem from. Daddy05. Daddy05 is a very notorious American family vlogging channel featuring the daddy, Mike Martin, and his wife, Heather, and their 5 children. What started as a family prank channel later on turned into something fairly nefarious. So what did they do to deserve to be on here? Well, a lot, actually. A lot. I always get so sad when I'm making these videos because it's so interesting to research, and then the more I get to learn about these cases, the sadder I get. Okay, this is what happened, the reason why they are here. Abusive pranks and child exploitation. So since it's a prank channel and it's literally children that you're pranking, which is like not adults, right, and don't understand, you have the only 2 people that they're supposed to trust the most in life, and they're pranking them, and their entire stream of income is about being pranked. Children don't understand this, and it can be very harmful for children. But a light prank is just a light prank, right? So let me go in depth with what type of pranks they did. The prank content they would make would be screaming accusations and swearing at the children for doing stuff that they simply hadn't done, or supposed misbehavior. The most infamous prank of this is the invisible ink, where Cody and Alex were made hysterical after being falsely blamed or gaslit into having spilled ink on a carpet, which they hadn't done. They were also encouraging sibling on sibling aggressiveness, where Jake, the older son, was prompted to gang up or physically attack younger siblings, sometimes resulting in apparent injuries. There's also been numerous physical incidents with Cody being forcefully shoved into a bookcase by Mike, the father, leaving him with facial injuries, or a child being slapped across the face for failing a challenge. There's also a lot of psychological distress, especially towards Cody, where he is frequently seen weeping and or crying, pleading for the treatment to end, and being told that he might be adopted out, or having his belongings destroyed for not being good enough. The children were also frequently filmed without their consent, where in the videos they're actually saying, "Don't film me right now. Please, for the love of God, don't film me. Stop filming me." Where they were forced to continue to film for the masses, and all their pleas fell for deaf ears. This entire outrage spawned an entirely big wave of backlash, obviously, because you're literally filming yourself abusing children on the internet, right? So that's bound to happen. Child protective services were called, and the two youngest children, Cody and Emma, were forcefully removed from the family and were then put into the biological mother of Cody and Emma, were put into her custody. The channel also got completely removed from YouTube, and their response to the world was saying that a lot of their content was actually fake and it was scripted, even though that it's painfully obvious to see that these children don't think that it's fake or scripted. Maybe it was scripted or fake for the parents, but definitely not for the children. 8 passengers. Now, 8 passengers is probably one of, if not the worst case I've ever heard about and I've researched. So I will warn you right now that this is gonna be very gruesome. 8 Passengers is a very widely known family vlogging channel with, funny enough, 8 people, featuring Ruby and Kevin Frank and their 6 children. They have a following of roughly 2 million viewers or fans, or what you like to call it. And their content is usually vlogs and daily trips and family content. And they initially got very famous for their honest style of parenting. Now, the controversies here comes from a lot of stuff, but we'll take it step by step. So let's start with the extreme discipline. Ruby Frank's parenting style was what a lot of people would call abusive, and I would too, because all of this is also filmed, by the way. Well, not all of it, but a lot of it is also filmed. Some of the ways that she, for example, could start disciplining her children would be stuff like this. Force a 15-year-old to sleep on a beanbag for 7 months after banning him from his own bedroom. Sent her young daughter to school without any type of lunch so she would starve. And refusing to intervene after the school called her and asked, "Hey, why isn't your daughter getting any lunch?" Threatening severe punishment, such as sending the children to troubled teen wilderness camps, and telling 2 of the children that Santa would not come this year because they're simply too numb to respond to other discipline. On camera also made threats to the children's stuffed toys as a consequence for their behavior. She has also done extremely insensitive pranks, for example, miscarriage pranks. In 2020, Frank filmed a prank called "We Have to Tell You Something," misleading the children into believing that Frank was at this point pregnant, but had unfortunately lost a child. All of this is 100% complete bogus, and it was only for a video. Now, this was just the tip of the iceberg of this family. So this is probably the family I'm gonna be talking the most about because there is a lot to cover here. So originally in my script, I wanted to talk about, like, keep it lighthearted. Well, not lighthearted, but more lighthearted than what I'm gonna do. But I am not going to do that. I'll tell it exactly how it is. So at the end, Ruby gets prison time. And there is a very good reasoning for this, other than just her average use and other normal disciplinary actions she's had, because behind cameras, it was actually much, much worse. So let's start with the discovery of how she even got caught in doing this insane use. I'll start with this, and then I'll give you a little timer so you can skip if you don't want to hear about the severe abuse. Okay, so this is what happens. The turning point came to Ruby Frank when Ruby Frank's 12-year-old son escaped from Jody Hildebrandt's house in Utah, where he and his 9-year-old sister was being held. The boy was found malnourished with open wounds, duct tape on his ankles, and deep lacerations from being tied to a chair with rope. Desperate and emaciated, he knocked on the neighbor's door asking for food and water, which led the police to intervene. Both children were immediately hospitalized, and 4 of the other children was also taken into custody, which means all of the children. Investigations showed that Ruby Frank's type of disciplining children was much worse than originally thought. Jody Hildebrandts and Ruby Frank had subjected the children to something they called prolonged work camp. So now I'm gonna list some of their starvation and malnutrition. Children were on a regular basis denied food and water and basic needs for extended periods of time. Physical restraints. The 12-year-old was regularly kept bound with ropes, and his open lesions would then get treated with home remedies and not being sent to the hospital or seeking any type of medical aid. There was also a lot of confinement and forced labor. Children were locked away and forced to perform strenuous manual labor in the hot sun without shoes and or water, sometimes for hours and days. The kids also slept without beds, were denied entertainment, and were hidden away from anyone visiting the house. Contact with the siblings and the outside world was cut off for a prolonged time. Frank and Hildebrandt also called the children evil and possessed, and argued that their suffering was for moral and spiritual cleansing. Both women claimed that this abuse was essential for the children to repent and cast out evil spirits. Ruby and Jody was arrested and charged with 6 charges of aggravated abuse on children. They both pleaded guilty. Frank got 4 counts of aggravated child abuse, where graphic content and graphic evidence was also shown in court, showing the systematic behavior that they were using to abuse children. In February 2024, both were sentenced between 4 and 30 years in prison, which is the maximum that is allowed for prisons in Utah. Fantastic Adventures was a popular family YouTube channel made by Michelle Hackney out of Maricopa, Arizona. The channel starred their 7 adopted children in comedic skits and superhero-style adventure videos. The channel was originally terminated after Michelle Hackney was arrested and charged with multiple counts of child abuse and unlawful imprisonment, and her 2 adult sons also got arrested for failing to inform authorities about this type of abuse. The 7 children were routinely, again this is getting very dark, the 7 children were routinely locked in closets for days without any food, water, or bathroom access. They were beaten, pepper sprayed, including the face and forced to take ice baths, and subjected to pinching and other forms of physical abuse as punishment for missing lines in their comedy skits or refusing to perform for videos. The children were found to be malnourished, thin, and pale, and in generally extremely poor health when the police came, which was prompted by a tip from Hackney's biological older daughter. The children revealed that they had been kept home from school, sometimes for years, to film content for the channel, with Hackney exerting full control about their whereabouts. Furthermore, several neighbors and viewers also found arising problems already in 2017 when one child was seen running around naked outside, yet prior child welfare investigations had found no evidence. Allegations also included abuse by Michelle's oldest sons, both of whom later were prosecuted of offenses happening to the children in the household. All the children was removed from Hackney's custody the second this was found out. Michelle Hackney was indicted for 30 felony counts, including unlawful imprisonment, neglect, aggravated assault, and kidnapping. Her sons, Logan and Ryan Hackney, were charged separately. Both pled guilty of minors in later legal proceedings. Michelle Hackney died in 2019 due to medical issues before standing trial. Their platform and their channel was removed and terminated from YouTube. And that was the last one on my list. Thank you so much for watching. My name is TheRealFizzberg. I truly hope you enjoyed this video. I truly enjoyed making it. If you enjoyed this video and would like to see more of me, then I urge you to subscribe because it truly does help out a lot. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a great day. Bye.